Welcome everybody to WiseTake.com MMA DFS podcast. I'm your host, Jeff, aka Wigsplitter. Today we're going to be going over UFC Fight Night 124, Stevens versus Choi. On the first fight of the card, we have Mads Burnell versus Mike Santiago. Matt Burnell, his salary is $7,500 on DraftKings. He's a plus 145 underdog. Santiago is $8,700 salary, minus 165 favorites. Even though the odds are in Santiago's favor, his salary is pretty workable. He's a decent grappler. He has good takedown defense, solid combinations, but he does tend to get hit. But he will have the advantage when it comes to taking Mads Burnell down. Burnell does have a hole in his game, which is his takedown defense. Burnell is a pressure fighter. As soon as the bell rings, he comes forward. He's just a pressure, in your face type fighter. He's pretty well rounded. In his last fight, he sort of got blitzed and destroyed. But for a DFS standpoint, I do like Santiago. He's probably going to have multiple takedowns in this fight, probably have a lot of top control with some advances, and probably work for the win. So I like Santiago for possible lineup build. Moving on to the next fight, we have Daniel Taylor versus JJ Aldrich. Taylor's salary is $7,900. She's a plus 110 underdog. Aldrich is $8,300 salary and a minus 130 favorite. Taylor's going to be a little bit of the smaller fighter in the ring when these ladies meet. I think she's only about 5 feet tall. Aldrich is going to be a little bit taller than her, maybe like 5'3" or 5'5". So she'll have a 7-inch reach advantage as well as a 5-inch height advantage. But Taylor is a power striker. She throws a lot of her punches with ill intentions. Pretty much puts everything behind her. She has very fluid movement. She's in and out. Nice head movement. For a roster build wise, I'm not sure. I could see Aldrich probably out punching her. She's a little bit more of a technical striker. She likes mixing up her strikes. She has a lot of leg kicks, combinations, stuff like that. So I could see the only hole in Aldrich's game is her takedown defense. So she has very low takedown defense, but it's not like Taylor's a heavy grappler that's going to want to take her down. I think this is probably a standing battle. And I think Aldrich is probably going to squeak out the victory, probably a decision. I'm not looking to roster either one of these two ladies when it comes to building a lineup, just because I don't see the point output that you would need to climb a GPP ranking. So it's almost pretty much a fade. Plus their salaries are pretty much elevated just because they're so even, not necessarily evenly matched, but not necessarily the greatest in salary to work in. Moving on to the next fight, we have Kyung Ho King versus Guido Canetta. Kyung Ho King is coming off of his military service for his country. Very solid grappler. He throws a lot of front kicks. He uses that to gauge distance. He has decent striking. A lot of people are probably going to say, oh, he hasn't been in the ring for like 3 years. Okay, well, he has been in military service, so now he's going to be sitting around with his feet up, drinking soda and eating Cheetos. They probably had him out there doing drills. I mean, he's already in shape as it is, so it's possible that he could pull the same like the Korean Zombie did when he came back from his, and he's going to want to put on a show. Guido Canetta is he's coming off of a USADA ban. I'm sorry. He's a power striker. He has real heavy leg kicks. Both these guys are going to be have grappling, so I could see possibly the grappling negate itself, and this turn into a stand-up battle, which um, I give the edge to King just because of the his more technical striking. Koneta tends to be a little wild with his punches. King's salary is 9,200, and he's a minus 345 favorite. Canetti is 7,000 salary, he's a plus 285 underdog. I could see taking Canetti as a flyer in a GPP, but I couldn't see him. I don't see very many paths to victory for Canetti. So I'm leaning more King in this one. Plus, I just think he's overall the better fighter. Moving on to the next fight, we have Talita Bernardo versus Irene Aldana. Aldana salary is 9,000, so minus 235 favorites. Bernardo salary 7,200 and plus 195 underdog. Bernardo she's a grappler base, has a lot of takedowns per fight, but she tends to put so much in her takedowns that she tends to fade later on in the fight. Aldana is a high output striker. She has great takedown defense. I think 100% takedown defended. So it possibly could be a long night for Bernardo. Even if she does land a takedown, I think Aldana does have a brown or a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll look more into that for the premium article. Sorry. I do give the edge to Aldana just because of the cardio issues with Bernardo. Rostering wise, Aldana with her high strike output, I could see if I could fit her in, but 9,000 is pretty steep. Bernardo, I'm not sure if I could take a flyer on that at 7,200. Yeah, I'd have to look more into it before I set my lineup on Friday. Moving on to the next fight, we have Kalindra Faria versus Jessica the Eye. Faria is 8,100 salary plus 100 underdog. Eye is 8,100 salary minus 120 favorite. Both these ladies are, how do you say? They are they're on the verge of probably getting cut. Both of them is what it is. I think I is probably going to really push for a convincing victory here. Just a feeling. I don't know. I just have a feeling. Faria, she has average striking. She has non-existent takedowns. I doesn't necessarily take people down, but she has 100% takedown accuracy. And maybe the one time that she did it, she has above average takedown defense. So I don't see Faria doing much trying to take her down. And even if she does, I think I will probably have she'll probably be able to scramble back up to her feet. But I give I mean, if I was going to roster either one of these, I'd probably roster I. I think she's a little more more safer play than Faria. And they're both 8,100 salary. So I mean, if I had that and it was just one of those things where I wanted to be different from the field, I could see I with the victory probably getting anywhere between 60 to 90 points. But it's not going to necessarily give you what you need to get to the top. But she will get the victory, I believe. Moving on to the first fight of the FS1 prelims, we have Thiago Alves versus Zach Cummings. Excuse me. Alves is actually the underdog in this fight. I mean, he's a longtime UFC veteran, very aggressive striker, heavy leg kicks. He comes forward. He's actually evolved from a bull rush type fighter, and he's actually learning to be a little more patient, standing back, picking and choosing when he's going to use that aggression. And He's a solid grappler. He has very good striking. He's actually improving over his last few fights as well. He's looked very impressive over his last 3 fights. I can see this being a just all-out war. Um, Alves' salary is 7,400. He's a plus 175 underdog, or plus 170 underdog at the time of this recording. Cummings is 8,800, and he's a minus 200 favorite. I could see why Cummings is the favorite, but at the same time, I would actually take a flyer with Alves in a GPP just because of his track record. And fighting at this weight, I think he's a little more comfortable. The weight cut's not going to be as bad, so we'll have to see. But I could see using Alves in a GPP. Cummings, I think, has a good chance of pulling off a victory. But we'll see how the roster build goes. Moving on to the next fight, we have Matt the Steamroller Fravola going up against Marco Polo Reyes. Favola, he had a second round submission victory in Dana White's Contender Series. It was pretty impressive. Polo Reyes, he's a high volume striker. Good power, average takedown defense. Favola's salary is 8,900, minus 235 favorite. Reyes is 7,300 salary plus 195 underdog. I could see Reyes possibly pulling off a spoiling Favola's primetime debut. Plus, guys making their debut, there's always that opportunity when they have to get that first loss, and it's possible that Reyes could pull it off. Reyes is a high volume striker, so he could get a lot of points. But it could possibly be Favola with the multiple takedowns and pretty much controlling Reyes on the top with transitions and ground and pound. I could see rostering Favola at 8,900. Reyes, I could see taking a flyer on in a GPP. And moving on to the next fight, we have Alex White versus Alex the Spartan White going up against James Krause. Krause is a technical striker. He's actually, when you watch his fights, he's a point fighter. So what he's going to do is he's going to pick and pop. He's going to set his feet, throw a combination, maybe a leg kick or two, setting a leg kick to a lower leg kick, maybe at the calf, maybe the inside thigh, and then he'll pick and pop with the combo, maybe shot to the body and then to the head. He has shown power before, and he has shown submission victories. And Alex White is a very aggressive fighter. He has decent power. Both these guys are probably gonna stand and bang. If I think Krause gets hit, he's probably gonna want to shoot for a takedown and probably try to control the fight from there. White does have above average takedown defense, so it's possible that he stuffs a takedown and it just turns into a stalemate on the feet. Krause's salary is 8,400. He's a minus 160 favorite. White salary 7,800. Salary plus 140. I don't see a path to victory for White because I think Krause is just going to point fight him all the way to a decision. There's nothing wrong with that in fighting, but at the same time, it's not very exciting, and it doesn't necessarily build a lot of points for your DraftKings lineup. So I'm not sure if at this point right now, I'm thinking of fading Krause, and I couldn't see picking White unless something changes my mind with watching more video. But yeah, I don't see rostering either one of those guys. Moving on to the next fight, we have Darren the Damage Elkins. This is a very intriguing fight for me. Elkins' salary 7,600. He's a plus 135 underdog. Johnson is a 8,600 salary and is minus 155 favorite. Now, Michael Johnson is a very exciting fighter. I mean, he's gonna stand in the phone booth and bang. I mean, he throws all his punches with pretty much everything he has, and as soon as his gas tank empties, he's looking for a way out of the ring. Whether it's gonna be the ref stopping it and then he's just out on his feet, or it's just the bell rings and he's just done. Now Elkins has had some come from behind victories. This they don't call him the damage for no reason because he takes a lot of damage, but he also inflicts a lot of damage. I could see Elkins putting a lot of pressure on Johnson. I'm actually highly considering rostering Elkins in my in a lineup. He might be one of my core plays, and this actually might be a stackable fight for a cash lineup, just because there could be a solid amount of strikes between the two, and they could pay off. If you put their salaries together, that would be 15, 16, 20, so it's about 8,000 each. So it leaves you a little bit of wiggle room, if you look at it that way, to build around. But yeah, I'm leaning more at Elkins in this fight. Moving on to the next one, the first fight on the main card. Another fight that I'm really looking at forward to is Kamaru Usman versus Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare. Usman versus Emil Valhalla Meek. Both these guys are grapplers by trade. Both of them have power. Both of them will stand and bang. Usman is a little more patient. A lot of people think that Usman is just a grappler and he's going to take people down. If you've watched any the last few of his fights, what he does, he pick and chooses what he does. He's evolving as a fighter, so I think his game plan going into this is just to be patient. Meek is more of a pressure fighter. He's going to come forward. He has strong leg kicks. He likes to brawl, and he has average takedown. He has decent takedowns, but he has below average takedowns defended. So I think if Usman wants to take him down, I think it'll happen. But I have a feeling that Usman's going to want to put on a show and possibly knock Meek out. If that happens, this is going to be a lights out show, possibly fight of the night. Usman salary is 9,400 and he's a plus 650 favorite. Meek is 6,800 salary and he's a plus 475 underdog. Now, of course, anything when it comes to fighting, anything can happen in the cage, and we've seen that over the past 20, 30, 40 cards that I've watched, and anything can happen. But I do see a clear path to victory for Usman. I'd like to roster him at 9,400. That's pretty steep, but this has a fight of the night potential on it. Moving on to the next fight, we have Paige Van Zandt. Paige 12 gauge Van Zandt going up against number 10 ranked Jessica Rose Clark. Both these fighters, Paige Van Zandt, I believe, left Team Alpha Male, and I think she's training back. Not sure if she's training with Jackson Wink, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. But she has left Team Alpha Male. Van Zandt salary is 8,000. She's a plus 100 underdog. Rose Clark is 8,200 salary. Is a minus 120 favorite. Van Zandt has some pretty flashy leg kicks. She throws a switch kick, which is it looks like she's going to throw a kick to the body, and then she switches it up and then goes to the head. She had a knockout victory like in a fight ago. Rose Clark is a solid striker, decent grappling. She does have below average takedown defense. I don't see Paige Van Zandt trying to take her down. And if she does, I think Rose Clark will have the advantage there. I believe this is Van Zandt's first fight at 125. Rose Clark, this is her wheelhouse, so I think she'll have the advantage there for the weight cut. I don't see rostering Van Zandt. I mean, I'd rather sit back. I mean, if I lose because of Van Zandt, somehow gets a miraculous like Hail Mary knockout in the first round, or some crazy submission in the first round, I'll take it. I'm not necessarily saying I'm 100% fading Van Zant, but it's going to be hard to roster at 8,000. I could see Rose Clark making my lineup at 8,200 just because of the high volume of strikes that she throws, the takedowns that she has, and a good possibility that she comes out victorious. So at 8,200, I could see her possibly making my roster. All right, moving on to the next fight, the co-main event. We have Uriah Hall versus Vitor Belfort. Uriah Hall is, man, this guy is, I don't understand this guy, man. He's a slow starter. It's like he almost has to get punched a few times or kicked a few times or just not rocked. I mean, his last fight, he was pretty much knocked out on his feet, and he was saved by the bell, came out of the second round and just demolished his opponent, just straight knocked him out. I mean, I jumped off the couch on that one. Uriah Hall's 9,300 salary. He's a plus 325 favorite. Belfort 6,900 salary, plus 265 underdog. Belfort, I mean, he's a legend, man, in this sport. He's a pressure fighter, nasty elbows, heavy knees in the clinch. He has average takedown defense. Over his last few fights, he hasn't looked the same. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, it's post USADA, Belfort, just a totally different guy. I mean, he wants to get the testosterone replacement therapy. But either way, I see Hall possibly getting rocked in the first round, and then everybody going, no, no. And then he comes out and just demolishes Belfort in the second round. I mean, I could see that happening again. But at 9,300, it's almost like you have to put your foot in the sand and make a choice which guy you want to take. Do you want to take Hall, or do you want to take Usman? So it's one of those things where you're going to have to put your foot in the sand and make that choice. At right now, at this time, man, I'd love to roster both Hall and Usman, but it's not going to happen. It's either going to be one or the other when it comes to a lineup, because you'd have to have way too many punts and underdogs to come through for you in your roster building. Moving on to the main events, we have Jeremy Stephens versus Doo-Ho Choi. Both these guys are they're gritty grapplers. Both of them have, like Stephens, for example, he's a gritty grappler. He's a scrappy striker with good takedown defense. He's 7,700 salary. He's a plus 135 underdog. Doo-Ho Choi, 8,500 salary, and he's a minus 155 favorite. Doo-Ho Choi is coming off of a loss to, I want to say it was Cowboy, where he pretty much got knocked out. But Stephens has evolved. I mean, he used to be a come forward, like just straight aggressive, in your face type fighter. Now he's utilizing his leg kicks. As if you saw the Lawler fight where he just took the dude's leg. I mean, he just crushed his leg, and he couldn't even walk basically by the end of the fight. Now Choi, on the other hand, is a powerful striker. He likes to fight in the phone booth, throws all of his strikes with as much power as he can. He's a high volume striker. He takes less. His takedowns are less than one. Stephens has very good takedown defense, so I don't see that happening. And I could see this turning into a brawl. I could take a flyer, on Stephens, just because of his progression in his fight game over the last 4 fights. You could just see him just climbing and evolving as a fighter. Doo-Ho Choi, I want to see how he bounces back from this loss. Coming off of a loss, but pretty interesting. I like this fight. I mean, it should be a very exciting Very exciting card, even though a lot of these fighters, the average fan doesn't necessarily know. As always, if you're not a subscriber to @wisetake.com, make sure you hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Podbean, leave us a like. If you're listening to us on iTunes, give us those 5-star reviews. We really appreciate it. You know, it helps us do what we do. I mean, these are free shows. And don't forget to check out wisetake.com for more Fire DFS content. We have day passes for only $250. It'll give you access to all the cheat sheets, articles, all the tools that we have. We have a live stream before our NBA lock. And of course, one of the best features we have is the chat rooms. There's always people in there talking it up, talking all the sports up, whether it's NBA, there's NFL chat, there's MMA chat. I'm in there all the time. If there's ever any questions you have, just post a question in there. You can hit me up on Twitter @JEFPO. Don't forget to follow us also on Wise at @Wise_take. As always, be safe out there. Have fun. Let's make that money.
Yeah.